everybody. Welcome to this Thursday's Roundtable Mastermind. We're going to be following along with a little bit of the topic guide that you and I kicked off on Monday, which is really about finishing strong. We've talked about this, as everybody knows, we're in the last week of October here, and really this is the last of the quarter of the year. And we're talking about not only do we want to work on things one day at a time, but in the big picture, if you work in an annual cycle, you don't want to be slowing down during this time like most people are, guys. I really want to call this out because we want to do what others don't so we can get what others won't, right? Isn't that the old quote? If you do what others don't, you'll get what others won't. So think about that in terms of if a majority of people, and I say this all the time when it comes to things like follow-up activity. If 80% of people don't follow up with somebody more than 2 times, if you want to be different, you have to get into the habit of following up with your prospects more than 2 times. In fact, statistically, 5 to 12 times. So all we're looking at is what are other people doing as a majority, and looking at how can we do something different, something more, so that we can achieve more and work towards our goals. We do that when we talk about weekly sprint planning. We do that when we talk about every 6 months, looking at our wheel of life and making sure, are we on track? Do we need to adjust or course correct? Have we met our goals? And now we're looking at exceeding that glass ceiling. These are all important things. And the reality is, guys, just like when people kick off the new year with their New Year's resolution, because here's what's going to happen in about 2 months. People are going to sit down that last week of December. They're going to think about how much everything they don't like in their life is. And then they're going to start to project out, this is the change that I want to see happen. And then here is the reality. And we're talking about this now so we don't fall into the trap as we go into 2023. They're going to make those goals. They're going to set those New Year's resolutions. They're going to go gung-ho at 1,000%, really just 100% for about a week or two. And then they're going to watch as their sort of resolutions slip away. Guys, that happens to 90% of people. So how do we fall into the 10% group, right? We will skill and refill on a weekly basis. We break our big, hairy, audacious goal for the year down into sizable chunks. We realize that that's going to be accomplished by conducting weekly and daily habits. So we make forward progress, and we're going to come back in retro on a weekly, monthly, quarterly aspect to see where we at in measurement and how we can improve over time. That's that James Clear 1% improvement, right? We're also going to set realistic expectations and goals. And hopefully, if you've been with us all year long, that's exactly what you've been doing. Now, if you made it past that trap of not stopping your goals or your resolutions in the first 2 weeks of the year, how do you avoid the trap of when everybody else is winding down during the holidays? And Guy, you and I talk about this all the time because we see the secular pattern, the cycle happen, and we've been watching it happen in industries for a decade. And you see, wow, after about Halloween, things start slowing down in specific industries, right? If you've seen that happen in your own industry, and what happens? Then you got Thanksgiving, then you got the new year, and pretty much people just start checking out. Guys, one of the things that is so amazing is when most people are checked out is when they're most available. Have you realized that? So your prospects, your potential customers, their time is going to start freeing up because they're the ones who are checking out. And if you're in that mindset of a champion, that mind frame of a champion, right, you're going to be the one who's continuing through to finish strong in the new year. Now, Guy, before I get off my soapbox here, there was something you mentioned on Monday that we talked briefly about, and it's because we have athletic backgrounds, right? This is like playoff season, guys. We finished the regular season and we've made the cut, and now we're some of the team members who are left at the end of the year working towards the championship. When you go in to do your preparation, whether that's your game film, right? Your knowledge, your skills, your tool development, so that when you're out there doing things, when you go in to do that preparation, you're not giving 50%, guys, because you're going to get 50% as a result. You're doing that preparation and you're doing every day at 100% of your ability. And you might not win every day, but that's the mindset that we're going into each new day with. And so, guys, every day we have to, again, wake up, shake off whatever happened yesterday because we can't change it, right? And work on today, one day at a time, and go through each of those activities and the habits that we're working at developing. And before I pass this off, Guy's wife was so gracious. I'm not a big book reader, but when somebody gives me a book, I'll make sure to read it. Angela Duckworth's Grit. Guys, Angela Duckworth's Grit book, a wonderful book here. And I'd suggest if you have an opportunity, pick it up and read it. There's a lot of great information in there. But grit really is the ability to continue to sustain forward movement over time, independent of the obstacles and the odds against you. And that's where we want to be in whatever we are working on. So again, this, for most of us should be specific to our businesses, but it can be relevant to every area within the wheel of life, every spoke within the wheel of life. And if you're an ambassador here or an affiliate here with Elify, we want to make it specific to your success as an Elify ambassador or affiliate and looking at what are those activities. And here's the last bit. Okay. Where did you want to be at the beginning of the year? Ask yourself that one question, respectful of what you were focused on. If it was your primary business, where did you want to be in your primary business? If it was with your Elify ambassadorship, where did you want to be in your progress at the end of the year? Because here's the spot check. We've got about 2 months to go, and you want to know, are you almost all the way there? Are you 75% of the way there? Are you 90% of the way there? Are you 10% of the way there? It doesn't matter where you're at. It matters that you spot check and look at that and put it into perspective, because we want to finish the year strong. We can learn from everything up until this date and apply that in the last 2 months. And then I want you to measure your progress that you made, that you're looking at and reflecting on right now, from January 1st to here right around end of October. And what we're going to do is we're going to plan to finish the year strong in whatever we're working on. And we'll look at the progress we make over the last 2 months. Okay, there's in closing, a book that I read earlier this year called The 12-Week Year, guys. The 12-week year, right? That's a 3-month period. And the book speaks specifically to, with laser focus, right? We talk about relentlessly consistent on our habits and goals. We can actually truly accomplish, and I believe this wholeheartedly, a year's worth of activity in as few as 3 months. So with that being said, what are the last 2 months going to look like for you, spot checking where you are now? Are you going to be at that same pace and finish the year like you've been going? Or are you going to turn up that dial and finish the year strong and have the mindset of a champion? So, Guy, I'm off my soapbox right now. I know we're doing a little live, and we're going to close this down for some roundtable discussion within the Elify group here. But anything you want to add?
It's about being in control of your destiny, what you envision, what you want to accomplish. Ruben, I saw you sitting there like this, but driving your own car, steering your own life in the direction that you want to go. ER, you had mentioned grit from that aspect. I cheated. I listened to the Audible. She also gave me the book and followed along. But that aspect of why did she give it to us? Yeah. It's because ER and I have grit, from the aspect of we're going to do what it takes to get whatever we need done to accomplish the goals that we have set. We look a year ago, if we were to say, okay, just January 1st, 2020.
Yeah.
2022. What year are we in? 2022. And said, this is what we're going to accomplish with Elify. Well, there's been ups, downs, there's been changes, adjustments, but to be where, we have massive opportunity with corporations, with individuals, with our ambassadors. I mean, it really did come like over these last few months, and aha, as simple as my message with Elify is, all we are doing is providing a platform where I can digitize my information. Yep. I can share it and I can track it.
Yep.
And when I share that information, the prospect, the individual on the other end, can take action in real time. Mm-hmm. Right? We all get flyers We all get that junk mail. We all get, there's for some reason, I get this giant catalog from an industrial company on like fencing, on stuff to do yard work. Right, Ruben? And the inefficiencies that can be adjusted or course corrected with elements that are available not only from us, but other technology companies, from companies that can provide a way of reducing your footprint in the aspect of we did a search yesterday. We did some research for
the data now.
Yes, we did some data mining and understood. We've talked 10 billion business cards printed, right?
It's the US.
That's the US. 100 billion business cards are printed a year. And the metric is still the same, 90%, 90 billion in the trash. Do you know how many trees that equates to?
I've got the data in front of me, Guy. I'm going to let everybody know. Anybody got a guess? I want to talk about not just trees in general, but acreage. Acres of forest, guys. It leads to production just on business cards alone, guys, leads to a loss of about 6 million trees per year. But let's put 6 million trees into perspective. 120,000 acres. So I don't know, wherever you live, think about what 120,000 acres of forest land is for you. And imagine all of that is only business cards, and 90% of it is going to go into the garbage can a week after it's handed out. Think about that. Like, that's the change and the mission behind Elify, behind Shuffle, behind Tap is we can disrupt these things. We can make an impact. Does anybody remember in between 2020 and now when plastic straws had its sort of fizzle out, right? Everybody said, look at single-use stuff, guys. And single-use waste is the biggest disadvantage to printed business cards. Think about that. Right? You tear off the paper around the straw, you pull it out, you put it in a glass, you sip on it for 15 minutes, and then it gets thrown away. No different with the business card. You pull out a piece of paper, you give it to somebody, they look at it, maybe they take an action based off of it, although 2,500 to see a 2% uptick in business, there's not a lot of action happening. And then, even if these things are recyclable, because that's the argument, paper's recyclable, guess what? It's not going in the recycling bin. It's going in the garbage. So that's the perspective. We're trying to put new and different perspectives on things that can really bring to light the mission that we're on here at Elify. I'm looking at some other statistics, Guy.
Let's add this one in. 120,000 acres. That's 187 and a half square miles. That's huge, right?
Anybody want a house with a property that big? I mean, come on, guys. Like, it blows my mind.
When looking at the harvested trees from the paper industry, that represents 42% of all harvested trees per year.
Is going to paper, right? Now, that includes catalogs, magazines, right, things like that. But guys, that's almost half, 42%.
And businesses, what's crazy is businesses identify 50% of their print media is waste. They know it's going to go to the trash. So we have those companies that are creating trifolds, bifolds, catalogs. They create them because they know that there's use for them. But technology now advances the way that they can adjust a footprint. Think about all the ink that it takes to
pools of it, guys. Olympic-sized swimming pool.
All the plastic from the cartridges, and to know that us as Americans are horrible at recycling. And also, when you do recycle it, I heard from the waste management here in my local area, they only recycle about 20% of what you put in your recycling bin.
Isn't that crazy?
Crazy.
And again, so the best solution is to avoid the damage altogether, in our opinion, by disrupting the way people network, the way people market, the way people refer each other business. If we can start with something as simple as a business card and expand it to look at other print material that we might use in our business, we can actually have and drive a massive impact. In fact, if you're an environmentalist in any way, and again, I'm not going to judge whether you are or whether you aren't, but we hear all the time that we're in this climate situation. Did you know 50%, and we talk about carbon and carbon credits and being carbon neutral and all that, 50% of all of the terrestrial carbon is stored in trees? Think about that. Half of the carbon that's stored is stored within trees. And yet we're going to slough down 120,000 acres a year equivalent when we do these business cards. Paper production is one of the most resource intensive and polluting of all manufacturing methods. This is stuff Guy and I, pulled just yesterday, going back and looking through all of the data and getting updated metrics. It takes 324 liters, right? 324 liters. I think there's a few liters in a gallon, so maybe 150 gallons of water to make 2.2 pounds of paper. Right? So this is what we want to focus on when we talk about a few different things, guys, when we're talking to people about how we can help them in their business. And that's truly the first thing, right? We want to show you that you can make more money and save more cost by going digital. You can make more money and you can save more cost. Here's the reality, right? We talked 2,500 business paper cards to see a 2% uptick. Did you know the digital format is like a 10x performer or more on that? You don't have to send out 2,500, cut that by 10% of that, 250 cards. Look at you guys right now. Anybody who's shared out their cards, you probably have less than 2,500 shares, and it's probably resulted in more business for you. So it's better performing, and it ends up costing less. So if you want to save money in your business, maybe you're already doing print right now, do a split test and then lean into what performs better, because hand over hand, I already know you're going to start limiting your print and you're going to start scaling your digital. And then the last piece that I always think about, which is so critical, and a lot of times we don't think about it, it's the environmental impact. It's the doing it for the sake of doing it because that's what we've always done. Guys, once somebody points out that what you're doing is wrong or has a potential impact, it now falls on you to make the decision to either course correct or continue on. And I think that's the argument that we at Elify are making a lot of the time. Although sometimes we focus on it's a digital business card, it's a landing page, it's a QR code, it's an NFC thing. There's that surrounding of what it does for you, what it helps you accomplish, what it helps you save, and the impact, the results of using this thing have, right? Look at what happened in the world when the results of people switching from plastic straws to either no straw or some alternative. It feels like nobody's talking about it anymore because the solution's already been worked on. So that's really what we want to talk about here is finish the year strong and think about what we're doing and why we're doing it, because that's what helps solve the grit scenario. You have to know why you're doing what you're doing. And for us, it's that servant mentality. We, first and foremost, want to help everybody. We want to help you be more successful in what you're currently focused on. Part of that and helping everybody is also bringing opportunity forward and saying, look, the opportunity is big. Ruben, you and I had a great podcast call earlier this week, and that was part of it. It was not just the benefits of the technology, which are astounding. It's the opportunity that comes along with it, sort of as icing on the cake. And I think people sometimes lose sight of that. And we want to remind ourselves, this is why we refill on a constant basis, to remind ourselves what is the why. So one of the things I'd like to do here in closing before we open this up for our private discussion here is I want to ask you, challenge you, or encourage you to think about what your whys are and why you're doing what you're doing. And then take an opportunity to remind yourself of that why right now, and think about reminding yourself of that why every single day. Because part of that piece of grit, part of that following through and doing things that other people don't do, is leaning on the why for the strength. Because trust me, it's not going to be sunshine and rainbows every single day, right? We all know this. we're going to be met with obstacles and challenges as we work towards. I've always lived by the statement, you show God your plan and he's going to laugh in your face. Nothing's going to go perfectly as you plan. So we have to be agile enough to have a compass based on our plan and be able to course correct, go over, under, around, or through the obstacles that we're facing. And the thing that's going to help us accomplish that is leaning on our why and developing this knowledge, the skills, and the right tools to help us implement our plan and leverage the power of our why to get there. So, Guy, I don't know if you have anything to add. Otherwise, we'll close this thing down. If you want to join the conversation, you can either throw some comments down on this video replay, but I'd encourage you to start joining the live calls so that you can actually be part of the Elify community and join the conversation there. So with that being said, we're going to turn off this live.